All right. Fantastic.
Let me just do this.
Start recording.
There we go.
All right. And a countdown. All right.
Okay.
Number 1 podcast. So, yeah. Did you hear about all the changes and stuff they had made on Friday when they did the
all I heard was there was a bunch of guys that didn't meet weight. And then there was some other drama that Dana White didn't handle properly.
Yes.
I was told.
Also true.
I never found out what that was.
So, Kevin Holland was supposed to be the co-main event against Daniel Rodriguez. And they had a press conference. They were talking some bad blood, but it was pretty cordial. So Kevin Holland goes back as they do their stare down and stuff. Kevin Holland goes back to the back where all the other fighters are at. Well, him and the main eventer, Khamzatchimaev, get into an altercation. Start yelling at each other, pushing, shoving. Yeah, all that fun stuff. Because Kevin Holland doesn't put up with that, quote-unquote fake stuff.
Yeah.
And
it's not the WWE, yo.
Yeah. So he says his words, tells them basically don't be fake, don't act one way in the back and then go out there in the public and act like something else. And so Kevin Holland didn't put up with it. So they got into an altercation, whatever. Canceled the press conference because they got an altercation. And then here comes Nate Diaz, and he puts fuel to the fire, starts throwing crap at Khamzat, calling him names and stuff. Because, again, he also doesn't put up with that fake stuff. And so he cancels the press conference, which has never happened before. Yeah. So then Saturday or Friday morning comes, they got to do the weigh-in stuff. Having everybody come in and stuff. Nate makes weight 171. And Khamzat, they're like, okay, so there's been some talks about his weight and stuff like that, And so he gets on scale and he's 178 and a half. So he missed weight by 8 pounds.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I heard that and I said, how do you fuck that up?
Yeah, well, he gets up there and they say 178 and a half and everybody goes, oh my God. And he goes, not that bad, and then flicks the crowd off and, whatever, which is already ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so apparently the excuse was that the doctors called it off. He thought he still could have made weight, but the doctors called it off, said that he couldn't continue cutting weight. Now, okay, maybe that's true, but you're still 8 pounds over. So
you're not just going to sweat some of that off.
It's not like you were close, you were dying, and then the people are like, hey, you gotta stop. That's not what happened. You didn't try to make weight, because you didn't look drawn out, you look pretty filled. Just very disrespectful. And Diaz said, hey, I'm not fighting him in the main event 8 pounds heavy. I'm not doing that. I'm not promoting that. And he has the right to do that. That's disrespectful. So Dana goes, okay, well, I guess we'll make Kevin Holland fight Khamzat. Switch the last 3 fights, switched them all up, which it's just crazy to do on such a crazy card. Yeah. And, I didn't like that Tony Ferguson was fighting anyways on this card. He was just flatlined for the first time in his career 2.5 months ago. And you got to give your brain time to heal, And
when you say flatline,
he face planted. He got front kicked in the face, and he crumbled and face planted.
Okay.
Yeah, and he'd never been.
I thought that's what you're referring to, but I didn't know if you meant like his fucking heart stopped.
Oh no. Yeah, no. He never been KO'd before, and he was winning the fight, and they got caught with a disgusting front kick, and it flatlined him or KO'd him.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I didn't like that he was fighting so soon anyways. And the guy that he was fighting hits really freaking hard. So I didn't like that. In a way, it was kind of better that he did fight Nate because Nate doesn't hit the hardest. So it's a good fight. I just wish they got the promotion that they should have gotten. I wish they would have been billed that all along. So,
yeah, well, I mean, with the way they went down, the drama, though, it kind of got its own form of promotion, I guess,
Yeah, because Khamzat was still co-main event. He still fought. He won the fight. The guy went to touch his glove, and Khamzat dove in on his legs. He did it dirty. It was super, super dirty.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, nasty. And ends up winning or whatever. And the crowd booed him. Like, you can't do that. You can't act like it's no big deal. Have not a good explanation and just be like, whatever. All right, cool.
Yeah.
And the crowd booed him and booed him in, and they booed him out of the arena. They don't put up with that. So yeah, Khamzatchimaev wins in the co-main, and he says he kills everybody, he beats everybody, doesn't matter about his weight, which is just not what you say. So then Nate Diaz fights, and it's a Nate Diaz Tony Ferguson fight. It's exactly what you could expect. Just not as much blood, I guess you could say, because Nate Diaz gets tapped and he starts bleeding because he has so much scar tissue.
Wow.
And they go 4 rounds, and Tony's having some success, and Diaz is having some success when he's pushing him back and putting combinations together. And he hits, and it looks like he kind of hurts Tony a little bit, stumbles him, beats him up a little bit, and then Tony shoots in like a naked takedown, which, what I mean by naked, he doesn't throw anything behind it. He just shoots a takedown.
Just going in, right?
Yeah, he's just going in. And Nate Diaz locks up a guillotine, looks like Tony's going to get out, and Nate, one arm, guillotines him, and then grabs his own hand and modified guillotine, and submits Tony Ferguson. And he's never been submitted before.
Damn.
It was unbelievable. And as he's submitting Tony, he's flexing to the crowd. Nate is. And it's like his patent thing when he gets a guillotine or a submission or whatever. He'll do that. And that's what he did. And I couldn't believe he submitted him. I couldn't freaking believe that he snatched up the submission. And Joe was talking to him and asking him how he felt and stuff, and he said, I didn't box this entire camp because the guy that I was fighting is a wrestler. He's going to try to wrestle me a lot of it, And he said, so I had to pull that one out of my ass. I was like, oh no. But it was awesome. I couldn't believe, because just a few years ago, Tony was boogeyman. 12-fight win streak, should have fought for the title a couple of times. And the UFC never gave it to him, which is unbelievable in itself.
Who was the guy? I saw a clip of some guy, like some big black dude, just dancing. Like he was super happy to be there. He won. What was that?
Yeah. Chris Barnett. He fought Jake Collier in the prelims. And Jake Collier came out like Jake Collier comes out. Really quick, really powerful, and started putting it to him. I think he dropped Chris 3 times. Okay. And you could see Jake, after you couldn't get him out of there, started taking some deep breaths, trying to pace himself a little bit because he exploded, and can't really blame him on that. Like, he thought he had the guy out of there. And shoots, again, a naked takedown, basically gets sprawled to the canvas. And Chris Barnett takes his back, gets full mount, and just doesn't let him go, and beats him up and wins the fight and comes back. And he was telling the crowd how much he loves them and telling them how much this is for them and stuff like that. So it was pretty crazy comeback for sure. Because like I said, he was dropped 3 times.
Dang.
So you don't see that very often.
No, there was a fight. Oh man, it was like a month ago. I couldn't tell you who was fighting, but that happened where the guy dropped like 2-3 times, and then he ended up winning.
Was it submission?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I don't remember the Chinese guy's name, but he fought. Oh man, what's his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. He beat. He beat Tyson Nam. Oh my God, it's gonna kill me. I can't remember his freaking name, but Matt Schnell. That's who it is.
Yeah.
Matt Schnell. He was dropped a crap load in the first, and the guy got tired and got caught in a triangle, which is unfreaking believable.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Yep.
Unbelievable. I was surprised Matt's chin held up in that one. He's had either his chin is gone in fights or it's pretty fine and he'll get caught with a submission himself. So I was pretty surprised to see that one.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that to me because I think I was talking to you about it because I was placing bets that night.
Yeah.
And I think you said something about the chin, and
Yep.
I was like, well.
Yep. I no one could have predicted that he would have gotten rocked multiple times and not got finished. It just hasn't happened with him. So, yeah. And he's one of those guys that a lot of guys, especially nowadays, they're taking like short notice fights. It's just, you know, you gotta fight more than once or twice a year because a lot of people like to complain about the money aspect and, you know, all that stuff. But you get a contract, like 4 or 5 fight deal, and yeah, maybe you're making, you know, 12 to win, 12 to show, you know, whatever. If you want more money, you gotta fight more. Get another contract, you'll get more money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, do I think it should be like that? Maybe not. Maybe not. But it's a business. You got 500 people on a roster.
Yeah.
You know? So, I like I said, I think it's one of those things that if you want the money and you want to do all those things, take short notice fights. Because even if you lose, I guarantee your stock goes up. The UFC sees you as somebody who will take short notice fights, even if you lose. So
do they get like a bonus for doing that?
Huh?
Do they get like a bonus for doing a short notice, you know?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
If it's like ridiculous, you know, yeah, or the fight's crazy or whatever, most of the time Dana will give you a bonus. Like Barnett missed the heavyweight limit, which is ridiculous. It's only the second time in UFC history you miss weight as a heavyweight. It's 265 is the limit. How do you miss it?
Yeah.
How do you miss that? And Dana, because he missed weight, he wasn't eligible for a post-fight bonus. And Dana said, "I'll give him something," because it was crazy comeback and stuff. So I think there's good and there's bad in that, because if Dana does that, it doesn't make them not miss weight. You know, I think making weight.
Maybe he'll give me something anyway.
Yeah. You know, I think the weight thing, if you miss weight like Chimaev, it should count as a loss, because that's ridiculous. You didn't even try.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's part of the whole thing. Like, that's what you're expected to do. It's
Yep.
like showing up.
Yeah, it's a part of your contract.
You know?
I will be there. I will make weight. Yeah. And you can say the doctor stopped you, but you weren't on weight to make it anyways. There's no way the doctor stopped you at 4 a.m. before the weigh-ins and you're 8 pounds over.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple pounds, 1, 2, maybe. Okay.
Right.
Maybe that makes sense. But not
Drink
8 freaking pounds.
Drink a bottle of laxative and drop to 2 pounds.
Right. And you know, he's never had issues before. I think he wanted to come in heavy and have more of an advantage on Nate. You know, and Nate said, "Nope, I'm not fighting you." He didn't really want to be responsible promoting that guy anyways.
Yeah.
So, because Chimaev only has 4 or 5 fights in the UFC.
Right. I mean, but like 8 pounds probably wouldn't have affected the fight itself, you think? It's just more of a principle at this point.
It's definitely principle, definitely.
Yeah.
I think also it's 8 pounds on weigh-in day, but Chimaev fights at 185 and 170. He fights both. So when he goes in the cage, he's already going to be probably 20, 30 pounds bigger.
Yeah.
Anyways, on top of the 8 pounds, you know. So
okay.
I think it's definitely principle, definitely.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's
like their skill set's still going to be there.
Yeah,
You got 8 pounds or not, you know.
Oh yeah. It doesn't diminish the skill set or anything like that. I think, honestly, it may have helped Nate that he did come in big like that, because we did see in a 3-round fight Chimaev gas out a little bit. And you can't gas against Nate. Now, could Nate have survived that onslaught in the first round and a half? I mean, history says yes, but who freaking knows?
Right.
You know?
And then, though, but if it did go bad, then he'd be like, well, you know, he was overweight. That's why.
Yeah, which, again, I'm glad that he didn't accept the fight because of that. Because there still would have been that excuse. There still would have been that. And Nate has all the right in the world to be upset about that. He has all the right in the world to say that. But I don't know how well that would have went. you know, if you still take the fight, then you kind of know what you're getting into at that point, you know. But yeah, it was crazy. It wasn't over until like midnight, 12:30,
Yeah.
something like that.
I was out, man. I was out by about 10:30.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, I gotten up early for some reason. The dogs, I think, woke me up early, and then I had to go driving because I had to go to Guitar Center. I'm trying to get some stuff set up for this ball.
Yeah.
And so by the time I got done driving around all day long, I should have took a nap, but nah, I didn't.
Well, we went. I came home from work. I was home at like 10:30 or so, and the next morning we had Popcorn Fest, which, whew, yeah. So we had Popcorn Fest, and we had to get up at 5:40 or something. I don't understand. I was like, no, please, no, please, and I don't like big groups of people. It makes me super uncomfortable. Gives me a lot of anxiety. And, yeah, so we didn't get home. We were there for 6 hours. I was dying.
Yeah.
And so by the time we got home, it was like right go time. So I was sweating. I was... My nerves were shot by the end of the night. Oh, my gosh.
Why are you sweating? Cups is on.
Man, I'll take a shower and I'll start sweating as soon as I'm done. I'm like, what is going on? Yeah. Crazy, you know? But, yeah, I guess next year I'm not going to have to go. So, I'm happy with that.
I've never gone.
If I had my choice, I wouldn't either. I told my wife, hey, I'm cool with going to Popcorn Fest. I'm cool with them going to ride rides and stuff, but then we can go home.
Yeah.
I don't need to walk around and be swarmed by people and bees and stuff. And, yeah. So, yeah, I got my wish. I don't have to go next year.
There you go.
I was like, hey, I don't want to go this year. Too bad. Okay.
I know something. Like it's not going to happen next year.
Yeah. I was like, can I please not go? Nope. 5:40. I was like, oh, Jesus. I didn't get to bed last night until like, oh my goodness, it was 3:30, maybe 4.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, and she took the youngest one and the middle one to church. I don't do that, but she took them to church so I could do this. Not so, but it helped so I could do this too. Take the baby at least. My son's out there on the couch, but yeah. So, but yeah, it was a crazy night of fights, and next week even the fights are even more ridiculous than they were this week. They got a crap load of big names on that card, but yeah, I also wanted to talk to you about. I seen that they announced a lot of like Marvel stuff on Disney, and I was gonna ask you, are you like fatigued with all that stuff yet?
No, I think it's just what it is now. Like, so, you know, in the 80s it was what rom-coms and slasher flicks. In the 90s it was romance. What was the 90s big thing? Action movies. Yeah, I got the other way around. 80s was action movies.
Yep.
90s was the rom-coms.
Yep.
You know, and so now it's comic book movies now. You know, it's just the flow of the tide of movies. You know, I'm fine with it. You know, I haven't seen the new Thor yet, but pretty much everyone I talk to is mad about it because it's just a big joke.
Yeah, I heard it's like almost like a spoof. It was just.
And like, you know, like Darren's upset. He hates the fact that they turned like Drax. Right, Drax is supposed to be just a killer, a badass, but he's a joke.
Yeah.
You know, and all he's always been. And now they're doing it to Thor. Thor's starting to become just a joke. So I don't know. I haven't watched Ms. Marvel yet. I haven't watched She-Hulk yet, and not because I'm protesting or some stupid reason. I just haven't had time to.
Yeah.
I'll get to them. You know, I enjoy it for what it is, I guess. I don't get butthurt and fatigued about all this stuff.
Yeah. I'm not a huge, like, superhero where I'm going to make sure I watch all of them, because sometimes, a lot of the times, they connect nowadays, especially with, like, Marvel and all those things.
Moon Knight. I still got to watch Moon Knight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That one looked pretty good. I did see trailers and stuff for that, but yeah, I've never been a huge, crazy about superhero movies, but I've always liked like Iron Man, of course, SpiderMan, still something I like. I really liked the last movie they did. That was awesome.
Oh yeah.
Especially to see Toby back. Oh my goodness. Oh.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was some people complained about it, like Toby's acting. Someone was telling me that the conversation between the three of them felt forced and that it was just bad acting on Toby. And I says, hold up. You got three people who are essentially the same person, character-wise, right? And they kind of know each other because they are each other, and they kind of live the same life experiences. So it was supposed to be awkward.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
They're like, I know you, but I don't know how to talk to you. So it was supposed to be cheesy, awkward, small talk. And the fact that the person who's complaining about this got that, I'm like, well, they did what they were supposed to do. It worked.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, no, that movie was great. So far though, the rest of the Phase 4s, I guess, have been falling flat for the majority of people. I'm like I said, I'm behind, so I don't really know.
Yeah.
Yet.
I got to see it in theaters, and I thought that movie was start to finish a lot of fun, get straight to the point, and I thought Doctor Strange, I thought he was super funny in that movie. I really liked it.
Yeah, I did. Well, and that's why a lot of people thought it wasn't really Doctor Strange, like from the trailers, because Doctor Strange is supposed to be all stoic and serious and whatever, and he's over here cracking jokes and just being, lackadaisical about throwing spells around and whatnot. So, but a lot of people thought, the whole Mephisto theory came out, and obviously that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And then, like when Andrew Garfield, I wasn't for sure how his reception was going to be, but a lot of people seemed to like it, which I'm happy because Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man isn't the issue with those Spider-Man movies.
Nah, it was the writing.
Yeah, that's right. Especially the second one.
Yeah, he got screwed on that. It wasn't him.
Yeah, I think his personality is awesome. And you see it in that Spider-Man movie. And that's something I think is really cool because he's so funny. It's so natural to him, it seems. And and Toby, you can say like cheesy acting, whatever it is, but Toby, it's always been like that in the Spider-Man movies. That's what made it so almost real. That's some of the reason why I like Toby, because it's believable. Like he's a human. It's not like a character.
Yeah, it was the cheesiness it was supposed to be, you know.
Yeah. And I think that's even that third movie, as much hate as it gets, I still love it because it's just more goofiness from Tobey Maguire. Is there issues? Yeah, I guess you could say there's issues, but it's so much fun. Yeah, but again, I grew up with that movie. I grew up with those three movies.
Right.
You know?
On repeat.
So I might have a little bit of blinders on. I also really like, I'm sure you know or remember or whatever, but I really still like horror movies. It's still something I love. Especially a good one. And growing up, the first one I ever seen was I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Uh-huh.
And it doesn't get a great reception. Okay. The first one, it's the first one I seen or whatever, and then I seen the second one, and I love the second one. There's a point in it where it comes like the climax, whatever, and the reveal. And as a kid, I was so taken back and shocked by that reveal. Yeah, Ben's son. I was like, oh my god, as a kid, I couldn't believe it. It so got me. And even when I watch the movie now, it's like I go right back there and I relive it every single time. But I was like 6, 7 when I seen that movie.
Oh, wow.
So it's something that's always been planted to me. I love that. And every time I'll watch like reactions to see what people think about it, and they're like, well, I seen that come, and I was like, I didn't. I did not at all. So it's just blinders because you grew up with something, and I have a huge nostalgia spot with a lot of those 90s to early 2000s because that's what I grew up with. That's what I had seen,
Yeah.
And
I was never big into them. I mean, you were, you watched them all the damn time.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't the Nightmare on Elm Street series was probably the only horror series I really liked. But like the slasher stuff, I don't get it. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
How does Michael
you know,
Myers keep coming back? Have they ever explained this? Is he a demon? I mean, what?
well, you know, there has been some talk about him being a possibly like. Sometimes they call him the Shape. Sometimes he's listed as the Shape. Sometimes he's there. They talk about a little bit that he's like paranormal, but they don't ever expand on it, and I think that's okay. The issue is when you bring, you know, what's her freaking name back? When you bring Lori back, I can't think of her name right now for some reason. Of course, when I'm talking about it.
It was Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, there's a point in Resurrection, the very bad Michael Myers movie.
I didn't see it.
Well, there's a point after HBO, and HBO is so good because it's Jamie Lee Curtis wanted that to be the last one. Jamie Lee Curtis wanted that to be the final chapter, you know, be the final calling of Michael Myers. But it turned out that they didn't have the rights to do that. So what happened was HBO happens. HBO, she kills Michael Myers in that at the end of the movie. She cuts his head off. Well, in Resurrection, because he gets pinned against a tree from a car or whatever, and she cuts his head off. And so that's it. You don't need to do anything. The movie is very, very good. Josh Arnett is in it. That's the son. Yeah, he's in it or whatever. She kills Michael Myers. And then in the next one, they give this half-ass explanation of Michael Myers it being switched. He switched with like a paramedic, and so the head that she actually cut off was the paramedic, and it wasn't Michael Myers. That's a cop-out. That's a cop-out to keep the franchise moving.
Yeah, that's like in the sequels for Star Wars. They're just like, somehow Palpatine is back. And they just leave it at that. Yeah. So, and in the same movie, they kill Jamie Lee Curtis. Michael Myers gets to her psych ward, whatever, and then kills her throws her off a building, you know, kills her, whatever. So Laurie's dead. And then 2 movies ago, they bring it back, and it's supposed to be a direct sequel from the very first movie. And okay, I remember hearing that.
Yeah, that's the timeline. And so that alone right there confuses and doesn't really make sense. But that Halloween community is brutal. It is brutal. Either you're a diehard, you stick up for it for no matter what, you can't have any questions, you can't talk about it negatively, or you talk about it negatively and then you get death threats and threatened and, you know, all these things. It's crazy with that community.
You're gonna get that with any genre.
Yeah.
And especially like the Star Wars genre. They're terrible.
Yeah. You can't criticize it.
No, people are like attacking the actors so bad that they're going to therapy now for it. It's just like, it's not their fault.
Yeah.
They didn't write this shit.
Yeah. You know, and I watched the last movie, Halloween, whatever it is, the second one, because the third one's coming out here in October. But I watched the second one. I thought, Halloween Kills. I thought the kills were awesome because that's what they were going for, bigger, better kills. Okay, so they did that very well, but the movie was so bad. Like, you start the movie in the 70s, which was an awesome, like, going back, you know, seeing Donald Pleasant, I believe his name was, Dr. Loomis, and that was awesome. The guy looked so much like him, it was crazy, because he's now passed, you know, and it was awesome. They started the movie out great, and then it becomes like, evil dies tonight. That was the whole chant in the whole movie. So you set up all these returning characters from older movies to meet Michael Myers and essentially beat him up. So they beat him up, and within 10 seconds, Michael Myers kills everybody.
Jesus.
And it's like chop shots. It's like kill, chop, next kill, chop, next kill, chop. And it's like, it was bad. It wasn't very fun even really to watch. But apparently the 3 movies, you can watch them like 1, 2, 3, all back to back. Mm-hmm. And so even my love for horror and slashers and stuff like that is not great with that franchise because it's there's no real good story. I don't need 100% great acting, but at least be consistent with your story.
Yeah, yeah. They're like retconning everything just to keep it going.
Just to keep it going, because and it sucks because they announced 3 movies on the first movie. They're like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a trilogy. Well, okay, that kind of takes some of the mystery out of the movie. Like we know Michael's not gonna die; he has to live to the 3rd movie.
Right.
But yeah, did you ever get to see Ready or Not?
No.
Oh, that movie's really, really good. Do you know what it's about by chance?
Nope.
It's just about a girl who, the actress's name is Samara Weaving. She marries into a family, and on her wedding night, she has to play a game. Now, on the trailers, it's not explained what type of game, but in reality, the game could be Uno. The game could be chess.
Oh, I remember seeing previews for it, yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's awesome. It's so much fun. The script is great. They also did a test showing, and people didn't like the ending. So they changed the ending. They wrote a better ending.
Oh.
They actually listened. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really, really recommend it. That's a really funny horror movie. Thriller, I guess you could say, more or less.
Yeah.
And I really like that one. I also got to see The Black Phone.
Oh, we watched that recently.
That movie's awesome.
That was pretty good, yeah.
That's awesome. See, that's how you do it. I thought the sequences with the kids that he's talking to the phone and having them kind of be there for the audience or whatever, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
I really, really enjoyed that. I really want to see Samaritan? No, it's not Samaritan. I can't remember the name, but it's this girl gets an Airbnb and then she goes down to the basement and there's a bunch of crazy stuff in the basement. Bill Skarsgård's in it. Justin Long is in it, and it's a horror movie.
Oh wait, I think I watched. Did I watch that?
It's Samar. I can't remember the name of it now. It starts with an S, but. Justin Long, because I'm a big fan of Jeepers Creepers, even though Victor Salva is a piece of work. I mean, that guy's trash. Absolute trash. But that movie is awesome. That movie is really, really well done. Still to this day. The Creeper's freaking awesome.
I saw a meme about it. Because you know how he's got the personalized license plate on his car?
Yeah.
Someone says, how did he get that registered at the DMV?
Right? Yeah. And they're redoing because they bought the rights from Victor Salva. They got him out of the picture, which thankfully. That's even another franchise where I grew up with the second one. I seen the first one, of course, but the second one was right around when I was getting older, or right around teenage years.
Yeah.
And so I still really appreciate that second movie. I like it. There's flaws.
I think I've only seen the second one. I don't think I ever actually watched the first.
Oh man, the first one's awesome. Justin Long is awesome. The brother and the sister feel like actual brothers and sisters. They play it very well. But Justin Long casually he's like a funny actor, does a lot of comedy movies and stuff. Mm-hmm. He's in these horror movies every now and then. And I think people need to realize how great he is in horror movies. Because he did Drag Me to Hell. He was awesome in that movie. He did Jeepers Creepers. He did Tusk, which is creepy in itself.
Yeah, when I saw Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah, he's really good in that movie as the boyfriend or whatever. Yeah. But I watched a couple reviews and stuff on YouTube. And the guy said people need to realize... Because there's not a lot of funniness in that movie. What movie I was talking about, I can't remember the name, but there's not a lot of funniness. But Justin Long, because of him being naturally funny, brings a lot of funny into it. It's enough,
right.
And he's so good in those roles, and I think it's very underrated. I really want to see it because of it, honestly. A lot of because of him.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited for that. I have never really been huge into like Star Wars. I've never been able to get into the lore. It's just not something I've ever been to gravitate towards. Same with Star Trek. I like the Chris Pine movies. I thought he did good.
I haven't actually watched all those, and I catch bits and pieces, but I haven't watched all of them. Like Star Trek is what I grew up on. My mom was all about it, so the whole Next Generation and whatever after that. And then, I liked Star Wars, but I never really dived deep into it until like the last, I don't know, 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never really been able to get into Star Trek, Star Wars. It's just not something I can follow. There's a lot to it, And it's kind of how I feel about like Game of Thrones. I want to watch it. It's an hour long every episode, and there's 8 seasons.
Yeah.
I can't get into it because it's so long,
Yeah.
And I keep hearing how good it is.
Other than obviously the last season everybody hated, which they have reason to. It was terrible. But that's you're gonna have to like either something like that. You have to catch it while it's coming out, or you set aside a weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I have heard that the prequel that they're doing, House of Dragon, I believe it's called.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that's really good, and that has looked good. But it's also, like you said, it's out. I could watch it as it comes out,
Yeah,
And,
we've been watching that, and so far it's been pretty good. I haven't had any complaints yet about it. Then we started watching the Lord of the Rings one, The Rings of Power, and that I've got no complaints. A lot of people were hating on it. They were saying. I don't know if you follow any of that, but they were complaining of Elrond. He's like the gay BFF of Galadriel, and we watched the first 2 episodes, and like there wasn't any gayness or anything to complain about. Like he's an elf, so elves are kind of a little fluid anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't see what the complaints were. Then there's people are complaining because there's a black elf, there's a black dwarf, like, and.
Yeah.
Cares,
I feel like it's one of those things where you'll be in trouble if you do it. You'll be in trouble if you don't do it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard a lot about that. I haven't watched The Lord of the Rings, I'm still waiting to watch Euphoria, the new season. That show's insane.
Oh, right.
Yeah. That show's unbelievable.
Yeah, we hadn't finished the last season. We're probably like 5 episodes in.
Oh my goodness. That first episode, I don't think that show ever grabs that tension and stuff that first episode did. That first episode was crazy, how it ends and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And, in the first season when I was watching it, I really wanted the story and stuff to have more of that, quote-unquote drug dealer or whatever. I can't remember his name, but the quote-unquote drug dealer. And just because I think his character's awesome. There's so much story that you can tell with him.
I felt like he had more time in the last season, though, wasn't he?
Yep. That's exactly what I was going to say. That he ended up getting more in the second season because they realized what they have there. And to me, honestly, it wasn't enough. Like, just keep giving them to me, please. I was so ready for him to be on screen.
Right.
I'm not for sure if that's a great way to look at a TV show that's about a different character. But I really liked his character. And for me, with fights and stuff, my wife asks me sometimes, like, why do you love it so much? And for me, with fights, back to fights for a second, but for me, to fights, same reasons why I really like TV shows and characters and stuff is being able to go on a journey with a character, being able to go on a journey with a person, and fighting for me, because I've been watching it since like 2006, 2007, somewhere around there, and even back then, there's people that I like, fighters that I like, but you don't know their story, and that's something for me that I can gravitate towards, and I can, grab or whatever. But I still watch like a lot of people's pre-fight stuff, especially older fighters, because I realize that they lose this one, that could be it. It could be over.
It up. Yep.
And sometimes that hurts. Sometimes that hurts to watch, man. When you follow somebody for so long and you start to, as you get older, realize, like, God, a lot of pressure. They got to win this one, Like, my favorite fighter. Sorry.
They might still, even if they win, though, at that point, it might be time to retire,
Yeah.
It might be their last to go out the win.
But in fighting, 9 times out of 10 you win, you don't stop fighting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not how that happens, because momentum, because a lot of stuff opens when you win, of course. So for me, my favorite fighter of all time is Donald Cerrone. They call him Cowboy. And I watched him in WEC, and then they picked him up in the UFC. So I watched him when he was 7-0, up until he retired.
Wow.
Yeah, this last year. So I've been watching him forever. And, he was that guy that whenever someone pulled out, he would fight him in a week's notice. And he fought 7 times in 1 year. And fans, because sometimes you get fans that, find a fighter, hype or whatever, and they follow that fighter. They don't realize the backstory on a lot of other fighters. So people, especially right now, aren't going to understand how good Cowboy was because he went on a bit of a skid before he retired. Like, he couldn't win one to save his life, whether it's because of the judges, whether it's because he's been notorious for starting slow in the first round and he loses then. People, because of that, aren't going to realize how much of a monster he was when he loved it. When he retired, he said, "Joe, I just don't love it anymore." Of course you don't love it anymore. You fought 50 times for the company.
Right.
Of course you don't. You took every short notice fight you could. You took fights when you shouldn't have taken fights. You could have gotten a title,
Oh.
So, of course, you're going to fall out of love. Of course, you're going to have a hard time getting up for fights. And that's at the end of his career. That's what happened. There was a couple fights in there where he should have won and judges just didn't give it to him. And I think that changes his career, obviously, because that's winning. And so, yeah, it's the story. When I told my wife, it's the story of the fighters realizing, like, they put a lot of their life. They don't get paid great until they get paid great,
Yeah.
And it's the story. It's the ride-along as a fan. Even when, like, a fighter loses that 0 and they get beat for the first time, what are they going to do next? How are they going to be after they lose? I love that aspect because there might be things you're not changing because, it's not broken. What are we fixing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
So I love that aspect of the game of seeing somebody lose that, not just lose in general, but lose that undefeatedness to, okay, how am I going to rebuild? How am I going to come back?
Right. It's definitely a journey there. I guess I never really looked at it that way. It's definitely a, and especially if you get to go right along with them, if they record it or whatnot and share it with everyone.
Yeah, like Dominick Cruz, he fought a few months ago, and he was 17-0 in non-title fights. And he had lost a lot of his career. He's 37, I believe now. Lost a lot of time, I think 4 years with knee surgeries and just having bad luck with getting injured. Lost his title because of it. Came back and won the title. So you're on that journey,
Yeah.
And he got knocked out in a fight that he was winning. He, his style is a lot of movement, and he moved right into a head kick and got finished.
Yeah.
So you realize, hey, you're 37, you get knocked out like that, that might be it. You might not get back to that title. And if you don't get back to that title, what are you fighting for? Especially as an older fighter. And that's something that sucks to see sometimes.
Just fighting for a paycheck at that point.
Yeah. And it never ends up going well because there's not a lot of motivation just fighting for a paycheck when you got to go fight for a paycheck.
Yeah. It's a job now.
It's a job now, yeah. But the whole reason why I was bringing it up is because with certain TV shows, I still love, like, romance movies, and I love it. But I love the character and stuff. And like, a show that I think does very well with that is I just freaking lost it. Are you kidding me? Oh, Shameless. Shameless.
Oh yeah.
Now, when Fiona leaves, I was a big supporter in when she fought for more money and she got more money. I was happy about it, but at the same time, Frank in Shameless, he's the main character.
Yeah.
I don't think they should be paid the same because I think Fiona as a character is great, but the story is around Frank. It's a different character.
Yeah.
Of course, when she left, it changed the show. And hindsight's 20/20. You don't know that,
Right.
But that first 5 seasons, oh man, what a ride. What a freaking ride.
I think that's all I watched. I didn't watch I didn't even know she left.
Oh.
I just stopped watching.
Spoiler
the show, and then I knew before.
Yeah.
Now, it's like when I had stopped watching it, and it wasn't because she left or anything like that. I like I said, because I didn't know she was leaving. I just stopped watching the show. I don't know, got tired of it.
Yeah, it's a lot. It is. It's there's a lot of crazy stuff in that first 5 seasons or so. But for when Fiona was there, I was a big fan of Lip, the brother. Right. So when she was like, okay, well, I'm going to leave after she got granted the money, which I don't understand anyways. You got the money you want, and then you're like, okay, I'm done. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why fight for it then? And so, again, in hindsight, I still like Lip and stuff. I still thought he could have held the show down. But I think they ruined a lot of what made that show great because they have freaking Debbie in that show be like a lead.
Oh,
and
yeah.
She's awful.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Oh, God, she's so bad. She's so obnoxious, And, it became hard to watch. We have gone through that show a couple times and rewatched it, and I always pick up on something I didn't pick up on. Mainly it's with Frank, because he's so funny, he's crazy, and yeah. And then I think another show that does character development well is Vampire Diaries. And I think they take their time. I think they go slow. And also, probably the greatest villain of all time. Klaus is freaking awesome in that show.
I never watched. I started watching it when it first come out. The cool vampire show. And I watched a few episodes. No, this isn't for me.
Yeah, you got to get past a little bit of like them trying to build the characters because that's what the first couple episodes is. Just trying to build the lore between it, and then it always keeps it. There's 8 seasons of that show, and they keep the lore. They never lose sight of the lore. They never lose sight of the characters. We just watched Twilight a couple weekends ago with the kids.
Yeah.
And after watching Vampire Diaries, Twilight vampires suck. I mean, he literally shines. He's like the lore of vampires is you can't be in light, you burn. No, this dude is in light and he shines like a diamond.
Right.
Like
I never understood that one.
It doesn't make sense. I don't get it as like a story. I don't get it as trying to change it. That's just dumb. I do think the Twilight movies do get a little bit better as they go. Because they kind of get away from that aspect. That first movie's hard to watch.
Yeah, it's so bad.
It's so bad. And, another show that I really liked, you're going to know this, is Friday Night Lights. I love that show so much. And now I love it because I love the coach. I love how he is as a person, and it always confuses me because I don't understand how someone is as patient and as, as his character is. I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could be like as patient as that or, be able to see the things that he's able to see and change and stuff. I was like, oh man, I love that character because it's just something I can't do. I just can't do that. But yeah,
that makes a good coach.
Yeah. That's just some of the stuff. Some of the reasons why I like TV shows more than movies. I still love movies, of course, but a TV show, it's longer. You get more character depth. I think it's definitely something like you get more character depth, you get more story.
Well, they have more time to build everything up,
Yeah,
dedicate one whole episode to one character. And,
but like the hype that you get, like if you watch an actual good movie, it just doesn't beat anything. I think you get super high if you with movies and stuff, but if it's a bad movie, I'm like, oh god, I just wasted that time. Like it could have been good, And sometimes there's movies I believe that you watch that are like B-rated and stuff. That's sometimes where you find some of the best movies, I think. Because you don't expect anything. In movies you don't expect anything sometimes can surprise you. And I think there's a movie called The Colony. It's on Hulu. Has freaking Lawrence Fishburne, Kevin Zegers from Air Bud, which, is an older person from Dawn of the Dead and stuff like that. But Bill Paxton's also in that movie. Crazy actors, and you never hear anything about it. It's not that old of a movie. But it's like an apocalypse movie. They have a colony they're trying to take care of, and then they gotta travel, and they see like these like vampire type things coming after them, or cannibals. I'm sorry, not really vampires, but cannibals, because they had to survive and start eating people. So the movie's freaking awesome. It's so much fun to watch. I think great acting, and again, it's one of those movies that just kind of flew under the radar. And
I don't think I've heard of it.
Yeah, like I said, it's on Hulu, so it's real good. And unfortunately, Bill Paxton passed away, and which sucks, which sucks, of course. But yeah, that movie's freaking awesome. I really, really enjoyed it. I just watched it a couple months ago again, and what a crazy movie. There's so much stuff they could have expanded if it did well in theaters or wherever,
Did it go to theater, or is it just straight to theater?
Maybe a limited release.
Yeah. Maybe.
But I think it's a movie that more people need to know about and more people need to watch. It's really, really good. And Bill Paxton's a bad guy, so that you already have my attention. So
you don't see that.
Yeah, it's really good. There's another one called of course, when I'm trying to talk about it, I forget what it's called. But basically, a guy's birthday, his woman gets him this package or whatever where they act like they're going to kill him, but it's just a game. So they're chasing him, whatever, trying to scare him. And he's like, well, it's just a game or whatever. Well, it turns out that it's not a game. Oh. And so it's a really, really cool journey. And again, on Hulu.
Yeah.
So it's just real fun, with those movies that fly under the radar and don't get a whole lot of attention. I think there's some hidden gems I think you could find in looking at. So
sure. All right, I'm gonna have to get out of here.
All right, well, it was awesome. It was definitely good. Let me know.
Fights next week.
Yep, there's fights next weekend, and there's gonna be a lot of knockouts. There's gonna be some stuff to talk about. So that's definitely gonna be fun. So let me know. Like I said, she goes to church about the same time every Sunday. So I got a little bit of a window there.
Cool.
We can do something.
Right on.
So just let me know. I'll be in contact with you.
And then let's see. The following weekend, though, I'll be out of town.
Okay.
And then in October is gonna be a little spotty. I got a lot go. Like the last 2 weeks of October, I'll be out of town.
Okay.
And so we'll see how it goes. But
I think next weekend actually there's no fights.
No.
So that kind of works out. If you have any time or whatever, at some point we can jump on and talk whatever for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it is. But yeah, just let me know and we'll keep in touch and talk and stuff about it. But
cool.
Oh yeah, so awesome. It was definitely fun.
Yeah, we'll do this again.
Have a good rest of your night.
Bye.
Bye.